Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, Shantia's new chapter. So I wanted to do something different, slightly different. I think I'm going to make this a part of the Worthy, Flirty, and Thriving series. Then if I do make it a part of the series, this would be episode 8. So I felt really inspired to talk about independence and stepping out on your own and finding your own path and the importance of this because I was inspired by this book by, I hope I say his name right, Dondre Whitfield, Mel versus Man. So I was really curious because I am not a man, okay? Not really interested in being a man in this lifetime right now, but I was very curious to know like what kind of goes on in a male's brain. Sorry, a man's, well, both, I guess. What goes on in their heads? Like, how do they think? How do they process their emotions differently? So this isn't going to be a book review because I'm only 1/3 through the book. I just sat there and I was so fascinated and absolutely blown away. If you're new to this channel is dedicated to helping you live in a way that feels the most natural to you. If you're new to this series, Worthy, Flirty, and Thriving, this series is dedicated to helping you basically feel worthy, flirty, and thriving. The intention is in the title. I always name my series with intention. So this is about me claiming my inner like worthiness, flirtiness, and thrivingness, and this is about you doing the same thing. Okay, so let's kind of talk about what blew me away in this book. What blew me away was the similarity. So in this book, he was talking about how there's like an epidemic going on with the like Generation Y, the younger kids these days, the adults who are like 25 to 30s, who are 34, who are living with their parents. And I was like one of these adults who's living with their parents. And he was talking about how a man can't become a man unless they go off and they're independent. Otherwise, you're kind of enabling them. You're limiting them, right? Because they need to think in terms of like, how can I be a man? How can I be a provider, protector, independent, self-confident person in this world? But how can you do that if, mommy and daddy are taking care of all of these things for you? And I was like, dang, that's my story too. So I noticed the difference. I actually felt so embarrassed by having to live with my parents. And look, a lot of us do it for different reasons. Like if you need to save, oh my gosh, I saved so much money living with my parents. But here's the thing. It was very much limiting me because where I am in my life and where my parents are in their life, two different places. And your parents are always going to see you as children. They're always going to see you as their kids, their babies, like they need to protect you. And I literally needed to throw myself out of the nest because I'm like, how am I supposed to become a woman? So about 3 years ago, I wrote a song called Rite of Passage because I realized that I still felt in a way very childish. I didn't like my reactions. I didn't like how I was impulsively like reacting to certain situations. I wanted to feel a lot more stable, a lot more grounded, in charge of my life, and like I was finding my path. So I created this song called Rite of Passage where I was essentially initiating myself into womanhood. And I feel like it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're in your 20s, your 30s, even if you're in your 40s, look, we all mature at different rates, but maturity is not a number, it's a choice. It is a choice. And I wanted to mature because I'm like, I don't want to stay in this place where I feel codependent on my parents. It's not helping me in any way, shape, or form. And so the first thing I asked you to do is identify whether you're in a codependent relationship, whether this is romantically or with your parents or with your friends. Are you in some kind of codependent partnership? And ask yourself why you're so dependent on this person. What are you afraid of? Because usually codependency is a sign of I'm afraid of, stepping out of this situation for more. I'm afraid to experience something alone or put myself out into the world. I'm afraid of getting hurt. But it's an illusion. Unfortunately, usually people who are codependent are taught codependency, right? They're raised in this. And Dondre, I hope I'm saying his name right, Mr. Whitfield here, brilliant actor, by the way, he really puts an emphasis on this. You won't know unless you know. So he talked about how 40% of men are essentially raised without fathers, and how these men who are raised without fathers, they literally go out into the world creating essentially chaos because they don't know how to be a man. So they have no like stability, they have no like sense of faith, they have no sense of like strong independence for themselves or dependability. Like there's also a lot of emotional trauma too that's associated. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of share briefly my dad's story. Even though my dad did grow up with a father, it wasn't his biological father, but he didn't really grow up with he was actually raised more by his uncle than he was by his father. That says a lot, right? You know, someone doesn't look to their own father as a prime example of a man in their life. So that's the 40% of the men. Like those men, even if they had a father in their life, some of those fathers were not present in their life. And so it really causes a disconnect. Because my father wasn't raised with that, you know, firm connection to his father, even if it wasn't his biological father, there's still a huge disconnect where he was not learning about understanding how to be a man. So he had to stumble into the experience of understanding what it meant to be a man. And now he really emphasizes the importance of raising my brother to become a man. So my brother is much more ahead of the curve in understanding how to become a man in this world because my father understands the importance of what it felt without it. So really reflect and think about what relationships you feel codependent on and why you're holding on to them. So essentially, I threw myself out of the nest, right? 3 years ago, I wrote this song because I knew I wanted something different. I set the intention out into the universe, and thank goodness I was blessed with an opportunity to, you know, move away and into a situation that afforded me the independence and the oasis that I so desired and craved for myself. And it was through that experience my life essentially started to accelerate. So as a woman in this world, even if you do live with your family, that's fine. But you have to make sure that there's a distinct boundary that's being created. Because my father has communicated very directly to me that he doesn't see me as an equal. And that's just what it is. I mean, to me, I understand what he's saying, but I'm like, in order for me to actually become an adult, I have to sort of be somewhat of an equal. But if I'm not paying for like the whole mortgage, you know, I'm not contributing ginormously to the mortgage and the fees, then obviously, you know, in his eyes, I'm not an equal, right? But even if I was paying something, still, his tendency and my mother's tendency would be to like, we have to take care of you, we need to protect you. But all of those behaviors were essentially enabling me not to mature. So I kicked myself out of the nest, and I've been on a path to acceleration since. You know, I've become so much more confident in my abilities. So reflect on your relationships and think about next, what would be the next step for you to create more independence? Because I'm telling you, it's huge for accelerating independence and confidence in yourself. Me journaling, me writing songs, and me deciding and realizing I needed maturity was a huge step forward. And then I left the nest, right? I went out there, I became more independent. Prior to that, I did go away for college before, but it's not really the same situation. I was actually living with my sister, which helped me to become more independent. But at the same time, I wasn't like working full time. It wasn't exactly the same kind of experience. So I went away for college, then I came back, then I had to kind of figure things out and kicked myself out of the nest. And I felt so empowered. So empowered. Your independence is directly in connection to how you feel about yourself. So if you're intuitively feeling as if something needs to change for you to become more independent and for you to trust yourself, then go ahead and do that. Cut the ties. Like throw yourself out the nest. You know how people throw like some old-fashioned parenting, they throw their kids in the water and just be like, figure out how to swim. That's essentially what I did to myself. I'm like, figure it out. And it was very stressful my first year. But after that, I was like, okay, I got this. And not only that, it actually increased my faith. The first year was hard because I was like, it was so uncomfortable. But it called for me to have more faith. It called for me to pray more. It called for me to focus And it called for me first to put pressure on myself, and then it called for me to take the pressure off myself. So the next part I want to talk about is the importance of, as you're stepping out into this world. Okay. My faith is like a huge part of what's actually helped me to relieve myself of any kind of mental health instability, because it can be very stressful in this world. We're very overstimulated. We're very much overstimulated, and sometimes we have this overactive imagination, overactive minds, where we just put unnecessary stress onto ourselves. We're overthinking everything. And I stopped overthinking. I started being very intentional. I would just write down what I didn't like about my situation at the time. Every time I would journal, every month, I would say what I don't like and how could I change it? Or what did I want? So what do I not like about this situation right now? What do I want? What do I not want? What do I want? What do I not want? What do I want? And I just got into the habit of doing that. And what I noticed is, because I was setting clear intentions out into the universe, I felt like I was being very guided and doors were opening up for me. So it helped me to get clarity on my path. So I stopped, quit the job that was making me miserable, started doing something that was very joyous for me. I pulled away my energy from people and situations that weren't really serving me. No bad people. Like I've always had like really nice people around me, but I just decided to focus more of my energy on myself. And then I started to feel rejuvenated, excited, and passionate about life again. So it was like a huge game changer. It totally transformed the way that I see myself, most importantly. But more importantly, it called for me to stretch myself continuously. And now I have like this new addiction to getting out of my comfort zone. So it's kind of like, I have this story about like when I was 9 years old and I was popping fireworks, and one of them was actually a firecracker, right? You're supposed to light it up and like throw it out really quick and it's going to pop. And I was so afraid to light it in my hand. Back in Hawaii, New Year's Day is huge. And what they have you do is they give you a mosquito pump. It's like a little like green twirly thing. And it's lighted on fire and it kind of continues to burn, kind of like incense. And you just put it next to the candle wicks. I think that's what it's called. Not a candle wicks, but the firecracker wicks rope thing. You light it up and you just throw your firework. And I remember doing that. I was afraid to do it at first, but then I lit it up in my hand and then I threw it and it was perfectly fine. I wasn't scared. And I kept doing it the rest of that night. So it's like allowing ourselves to stretch out of our comfort zone and take a risk is what's going to help you to stretch. So if you really want to step into a place of high worthiness and high, like thriving and just feeling really confident in yourself, you got to push yourself out of the comfort zone. You can't stay in situations that are not working for you. Why did I call in worthiness? I called in worthiness because I haven't felt worthy before. And it's an experience that I go in and out of because of my saboteur in me. It's an experience I go in and out of. And so I was just like, okay, this is going to be the end of that. Every time I, set an intention, I'm like, I'm very clear. I'm done with this. I'm done with this feeling of unworthiness. I'm asking for more. I'm calling for more in my life. And so I want to align with the things that I do desire. I do a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, and a lot of journaling for me to help figure this out because I'm not figuring it out alone. I literally just get ideas all the time. I'll have this feeling in my gut to be like, get that book. Read it, open it. I was literally staring at this book for like 2 weeks before I picked it up and started reading it. And something told me to read it. And I was like, first of all, I was just blown away by the fact that these men are going through almost the same experience that we're going through as women. It's just from a male's perspective versus a female's perspective. But the female brain does operate differently. The male's brain is a lot more compartmentalized, right? Much more structured, much more direct, much more like straightforward. But the female brain is like this. In this day and age, we're called to go through sort of the same rite of passage in order for us to be called more into our confidence and our independence. It opens doors for you when you really want it to. Okay, so I think there was a line in here I wanted to share with you guys, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this. Essentially, the core of this message is to think about the environment you're in, whether it's at work or at home, and to meditate on whether it's serving you or not in your journey. Is it limiting you, or is it facilitating you to stretch? If it's not stretching you, then something needs to change. So he talked about a poem by an artist talking about this chaos that a man, calm in the chaos is what it's called. Once there was a storm that brewed deep within me, a chaos I could not control and calm I could not see. The least little tribulation would set me into hyperventilation due to the violent nature of my last iteration. I would misappropriate the women who truly were a blessing. To be godly honest, I adored the beefing and the stressing, allergic to responsibility, wanting no accountability. My manhood seemed far beyond my male-like visibility. Male in chaos described me as a loss, sewn into my being as if I was quilted by Betsy Ross. The one night, through the salt and light, God asked if I was ready. I said maybe I might. He said, like Christ, I could be calm and be free from all the pain that was diligent in tormenting me. In need of prayer, I cannot be delivered on my own. I turned around like flesh of my flesh and bone of my bones through a spiritual consignment. I am a man newly in alignment. The intention of my creation is my purpose and assignment. From the ways of a child, there is a lifelong band. I am calm in the chaos, articulating from a male to a man. Okay, I'm going to be right back because I just realized, I don't know why I didn't make the connection, guys. I just realized when I wrote my song 3 years ago, it's basically like the same kind of messaging. So let me go get my poem. In the song, I don't know if I'll find it. In the song, I was essentially questioning what if I was ready to become a woman. This had nothing to do with sexuality. It had nothing to do with, has nothing to do with sex, guy. Becoming a woman has nothing to do with sex. It has everything to do with your identity, who you are, and maturing into yourself. And I kept asking myself, can I handle it? Just like this guy, he was essentially questioning, can I handle it? Finding the calm in the chaos. It might be a little tricky because the words are a bit faded. I'm going to do my best. The song is called Rite of Passage. From a girl to a woman. Things seem to come together, then they seem to fall apart. No place to feel grounded, in war with my counterpart. Lost in my headspace, no ground underneath me, though everything is still. I feel my body being torn from the inside. Take the pressure away, I pray. Feel the grass underneath me bloom into my full being. Want to be free. Temperamental little girl in a woman's body. Wants to hide from the world in her little closet, singing lullabies. Bye-bye to reality. Bye-bye. When will she come out? The world is rich of life. Don't miss out. Meet people. Make mistakes. Learn. Get strong. Feel what it is to be here, and love, love, love. Carry the weight of the woman. Can I handle it? With an ocean of emotion flowing through her. She gives so much. Her body gives life, and a warm, unyielding embrace, a mothering life force like no other, can be divine. Can I be her? A rite of passage, so ancient the earth and the moon know her well. The curves don't define her, it's the light in her eyes, aligned with the wisdom of the moon. Yeah. So, if I haven't already talked about it before, when I write songs, when I speak, it is my, it's my spiritual place. It is, words is my spiritual language. So I do a lot of channeling, whether it's when I'm talking to you guys or when I'm writing songs or I want to write a poem. All of it comes from the same place. So in the song, I was essentially struggling with this feeling of wanting to mature, but also being afraid, right? Being stuck in my closet. So actually, before I started YouTube, I started writing songs in my closet because the soundproofing is so great. And when I started to sing my songs, I started to feel so much more courageous about speaking. I joined a public speaking group and then I started speaking, right? So this is what gave me the courage. But it's so interesting. He's talking about male versus man, and I'm a woman. And I gave myself, my rite of passage was the exact same thing. Calm in the chaos. We're all going through this sort of journey of trying to tame that which is within us, to find that peace within us. It's when we're able to tap in that we're able to access our strength and our power and mature. So it all happens inwardly first. That's why I'm saying stop, pause, reflect, and really think about, is this situation helping me? Is it limiting? Is it helping me to grow, or is it not helping me to grow? How can I honor myself, honor my worth? What do I need to thrive in this world? You know. And your homework is to figure out, write it down, reflect on it, and then think about what can you do to shift your situation, to shift your reality, to see things differently. Always know you are eternally worthy. The fact that you're struggling with your worthiness says a lot. You've been conditioned out of understanding that you are already worthy. From there, it's your place to decide, how do I undo all of this conditioning that told me I wasn't worthy? How do I access my true self, my authentic source and power within me? I cannot do anything without, my spiritual connection. That is what has helped me. That is what has healed me. It wasn't therapy, even though talking about my feelings was so helpful. That's part of the equation, right? Getting it out. But ultimately, I had to ask for guidance, and I had to listen for guidance. And trust myself, and learn to trust myself, and learn to trust myself stepping out of my comfort zone, challenging myself, and seeing what I'm capable of, and celebrating that, celebrating every moment. Even in the song, I was criticizing myself. I was judging myself. Why are you singing in that little closet? What are you afraid of? But then I was also cheering myself up. Go live life. Go meet people. Go do things. Make mistakes. Learn. Live, learn. Okay. That is my passionate spew for today. Hope you guys have gained from that. Go ahead and check out this book, Male vs. Man by Dondre Whitfield, I believe his name is. Really beautiful. He said he struggled with the idea of writing this book because a teacher told him he wasn't a writer. Yeah, anytime someone tells you you can't do anything, anytime someone tells you you cannot do anything, they have no idea. They have no idea. Obviously, that person was limited in their dream too. So that's why they always say be very intentional about who you tell your dreams to. Because there are so many people out there who are so afraid to dream, including me for a long time. I was hiding in my closet. And I can't wait to to finish this book. But I really appreciate his approach, his simplicity in his approach to describing the situations, his authenticity, and his vulnerability. Hope you guys have a beautiful day or evening. Thank you so much for listening and being here. And I will go ahead and link the book down below for you to check out. All right, I'll see you guys for another episode moving on forward. Bye.